Good morning. It's about a year ago, Marsh and I led a group of young adults from our church, people in their mid-20s to mid-30s. We led them up to Washington, D.C. on a wonderful spiritual pilgrimage. We went to the Museum of the Bible to learn about our faith, and it's such an amazing place. I highly recommend it. And then we also went to the Holocaust Museum to discover what happened because of the prejudice and racism, the hatred against the Jews. And then we went to the African American Museum to learn about the history of slavery in our country. Each night we'd come back to one of the condos where we were staying, and there we would then talk about what did we see during the day and what did we experience. It really was a very powerful experience. It was something I was going to do again this year, but obviously we've had a problem here with the coronavirus. One of the things that really got to me that I've done before when I've been to this museum, the African American Museum, is when you walk in the very beginning, you start with a quote from William Cowper. It was in 1788. He had admitted that he really was sickened by what was happening to slaves. And he said, "I pity them greatly, but I must be mum. For how could we do without sugar and rum? Especially sugar, so needful we see. What? Give up our desserts, our coffee and tea?" You became aware that human nature, that part of all of us, where sometimes we are selfish in the things that we want and that we get at the expense of others. It's a very profound museum to walk through and to really see what happened for so many years and how the world really struggled with slavery. Did you know that Brazil did not end slavery until 1888? The last country to outlaw slavery is in Western Africa, and that wasn't until 1981. No, it's a real tendency that we want to use other people in order to get what we want. And it's hard to give that up if it's going to affect our lifestyle. When you stop and look at our American history, it's easy to see how that tendency is played out so many times over and over again. I mean, we had to struggle with child labor laws. It was easy to send children into the mines or into the factories because they were such cheap labor, and we all benefited from that. That's why unions sprung up, because of all of the people who were working for such low wages, and we benefited. So unions came along, child labor laws came along. You look at how we had to work for women's rights. I mean, we weren't passing women's rights until the 1900s. Throughout this whole last century, we've had to struggle, and even today. It's a real tendency for us to sometimes selfishly want to get something that we like, really at the expense of other people. Right now, with all the struggles that we have going on in our country, it's a really great time for all of us to step back and simply ask, how am I living my life on a day-to-day basis? I am not responsible for all the slavery of the 1700s or what went on with the child labor laws or oppressions of other people at times. But I really do need to look at my life, my individual life on a daily basis, and how am I choosing to treat other people who are around me? Especially, how do I treat other people who are different? I love that old saying that people would go around and they had a bracelet, WWJD. The simple question of, what would Jesus do? It's so simple, and yet it's so profound. And I've also found it isn't always easy, that sometimes I'm confronted with a situation and I ask that question, what would Jesus do? And it isn't always just so easy to decide, but it does make me stop and think. What if this day, this Friday, you and I all took the time to ask, what would Jesus do? So that I live my life not just for self, but to try to live it really for the good of all. Because when we live for the good of all, we wind up being blessed too. We may have to give up some things, but it's really what helps to bring God's kingdom here on earth. And all of us can be a small part of doing that. At St. Luke's, we've always been committed to sharing Christ, trying to grow in our faith, and serving the community. That's what I think Jesus would want us to do. And when you and I share and grow and serve, then we're helping to make this world a better place. And you and I do make a difference because we do try to live as Christ would call us to live. So, today, go out and ask the question, what would Jesus do? And I am sure that what we will do is love our neighbor, no exception. Have a great day.